Good evening and welcome back to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with our new employee, Jennifer Gifford. Jennifer started working here a week ago today. Yesterday. Yes. So we are very happy to have you here. Mm-hmm. You're going to be doing all kinds of different things here at the library. Social media, helping people with computers, issues, teaching classes, and whatever else we ask of you to do. So first of all, welcome to the library. We're so happy that you have joined us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And welcome to our set.
It's lovely.
So we usually ask our friends where you grew up, where you went to school, and how the heck did you get to Maine? So, or here, but...
Okay.
So if you want to start way back there.
Okay. I was born and raised in Maine.
Okay.
I grew up in central Maine. And then for my undergraduate, I went to Plymouth State University. And then after that, I worked for the Portsmouth Music Hall.
Okay.
And I got an offer while I was working there to go and work at the Coconut Grove Playhouse in Miami and work with Arthur Miller.
Oh.
So you have to say yes to that because
you definitely have
Arthur
to say
Miller.
yes to that.
And from there, I moved out to California and I lived and I worked as an actress for 12 years out there. And then I had children. So which is great. So I came back to Maine and I live in southern Maine now. And Kennebunkport has always been near and dear to me. I used to spend some summers here with a good family friend.
Yeah.
And
hello, Melissa. Hello, Jean.
And so when I saw the job post pop up, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try for that.
Yeah. Well, we're so glad you did.
Thank you.
So, and when you were out in California, what did you do for, did you have roles or?
Yes. Nothing huge. If you happen to watch a rerun of that 70s show, you could catch me there. I was in a FedEx commercial, which was a Super Bowl commercial. So that was kind of exciting. And my husband and I watched for it all day and we saw it air in the morning. So we called everyone we knew and we were like, turn on the Super Bowl, the commercial's on. And then it never aired again that day, which was really sad. And this is kind of random. When I was a senior in high school, I went to Messalonsky and they're like, well, where are you going to be in 10 years? And I was like, well, in 10 years, I'm going to be in Hollywood acting with Charlie Sheen. And almost to the day, I was on the set of Spin City with Charlie Sheen.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, 10 years ago in Maine, I wrote down that this is where I was going to be 10 years from now, and who knew?
Crystal ball.
So it doesn't hurt to dream.
Yeah. So what did you do on that 70s show? What was your character?
Oh, I was just... I was just a moviegoer on that one. I had a 5 and under and my line got cut, but it was still a really cool set to be on.
Oh, yeah.
And they had this really cool, family style bond, because they kind of grew up together, honestly.
Yeah.
And I remember they were making plans to go to Disney that weekend. And I was like, how cool would it, if those are your coworkers and you get to just go to Disney with them for the weekend. So that was pretty exciting.
That's a great show.
Yes.
And some of the characters, I'll see from there and it's like, where did I see, you kind of, it comes back to you and just their voices. And I mean, the parents were hysterical.
Yes.
So.
Yes, very funny. And very relatable for a lot of people, for a lot of generations.
Yeah.
No, and the day that I happened to be there filming, there was a rumor going around that Demi Moore might show up to the set.
Oh, okay.
Because of
Ashton Kutcher.
Right.
Yes.
And so everyone kind of waited with bated breath, oh, will she show up? She didn't show up, which was unfortunate, but it was still exciting.
Oh yeah, I would think so. So you went to the music hall. That's a pretty cool spot too.
Yes.
I just walked by there the other day.
Yes.
And
beautiful.
Still going strong.
Yes.
So, but they, like other places, like libraries, had to get a little innovative.
Yes.
So started offering the Met. So people go down there and do. They watch or live stream the Met, and you can sit there at the in the hall and pretend you're in New York City.
Yes. Yes.
Which is kind of cool.
That is. It's a great space, beautiful space, really nice people. Market Street is amazing.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just really cool down there.
Yeah.
I guess I really enjoy ocean towns.
Yeah, yeah. I do too. So your kids are now what ages?
I have a sophomore and a senior. They attend Greeley High School.
Okay.
And my daughter is in the college search, which is, very exciting but stressful at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's very different than when I applied, or it's very different than even a few years ago, because with COVID, a lot of the schools went test optional. And then a lot of students were like, oh, well, I don't need to pass a test now, so I can get in anywhere, which is probably true. And I admire their self-esteem. And so it's been a really fun process to be a part of and to watch and to try and guide a little bit. But at the same time, I don't want to over-influence because it's really her choice.
Yeah, yeah.
And my son is a sophomore, and he tried football for the first time this year.
Yeah.
And when he first told me, we were driving home from baseball practice, and he was like, I think I want to try football. And I think my response was something like, football? 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 But lo and behold, he ended up doing varsity starting center.
Wow.
And so sometimes you just know what you're going to be good for. And
Yeah, that's great.
and so they're both having great years, which is, especially with everything going on in the current climate, it's really exciting to see.
Did you see the last couple of years during the pandemic, did you see changes in them as far as not being able to go to school and, things that they missed out on? I think some kids kind of, they're coming out. They're coming back out now out of the hole that they were in, so to speak.
Right. Well, and this has come up a couple of times since I've been in town this past week. Greeley came out of the pandemic a little quicker than some of the other towns, which is great. It worked for our town.
Yeah.
As far as, so they were out of school completely when the world shut down, and then they were in hybrid. And I personally did my undergrad in person, and then I did my graduate work primarily online. And so I said, how exciting is it that you're getting to find out about yourself as a learner? And how cool is it that you get to see, okay, these classes in person were great, but these classes online are great, and what you really excel at, because it is a very different learning style.
Yeah.
And if you can be a self-starter and really move along at your own pace, some people are really going to excel at that, and some people still really need the in-person. Not that neither is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But
that must have been helpful to them, though, for you to be able to
put it in perspective. Look at this great option you get to have. Yes. Yeah. I'm sure there was a fair amount of eye rolling at that. Living with two teenagers, there's a lot of eye rolling in my household, but that's okay.
So as a family, what do you guys like to do?
So when the pandemic hit, they wanted to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, so you're virtually ensuring that you're never moving out of my basement. And so we did that as a family, and that was really, really fun. We like family game night because we're nerdy. We do puzzles.
Yeah.
We like to game as a family, which I find, I don't know. So then if I'm working with another youth member, they'll be like, oh, you play that video game? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I play it like a mom, which means I get all the best loot and then I go around and pass it out, but I play it. And I feel like in some ways that's helped keep me young.
Yeah.
And it's been something that I can really relate to with them.
Yeah.
I remember when my daughter was in 8th grade, her and her friends had a field trip coming up, and they were like, get your mom to come be the chaperone. And I was like, oh, I'm popular with 8th grade girls. I was never popular with 8th grade girls when I was an 8th grader, but now I finally made it.
Hey, that's awesome. And for you, I think doing some of that gaming, I notice when you're working on a project, you have this intuitiveness, hey, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this. And I think sometimes it comes from that. You have quick response when you're gaming.
The quick pace.
But you have caught on to so many things so quickly already in
thank you.
1 week.
Thank you.
So here are the keys.
Thank you. Well, one of my ex-employers described me in a good way as being part workhorse and part pit bull. And she's like, if I put you on a problem, she's like, you won't let go of it until it's resolved. And I'm like, that's...
Yeah,
That's pretty accurate.
And I find that sometimes when we are working with people, computers, like for me, I get even more involved because I want to fix that problem.
Yes.
I want to make that person, leave here with a happy, with a happy experience. So this morning, somebody came in and they had an issue with a phone.
Yes.
And you just magically said, do this. And it was, they left here with a...
I hope they're all like that. I hope when
Yeah.
anyone comes in that it's always...
Yeah. But I see that you have that, just that intuitive...
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Intuitiveness.
It makes me sad when they bring in a problem and it's like, well, your technology is past the expiration date.
Well, yeah.
Because that's a hard one. Things aren't built... I mean, I know that dates me. Things aren't built the way they were. Like
Right. That's
planned
right.
obsolescence is a thing.
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah, it is. And I think that it's that's the other thing is you have to be able to change with whatever is coming in because we don't know what platform somebody's working with, or
Right.
they might call us and say, I've got this, this MacBook Pro, and that could mean many things. Generation
Right.
MacBook Pro, which
Right.
one? And the plugs aren't even the same
No.
as the next, and all
Correct.
those kinds of things. Our producer Mike Kelly and I, when we're upstairs working with somebody that brings in a laptop, we have every dongle that you could possibly imagine, right, Mike? Because
yes.
everybody has a different piece of equipment.
Right.
So, and that's not a bad thing. It's just being able to know how to, function with that.
Right. And so much of it is proprietary. They don't want any of your dongles to be universal.
That's true.
They want their own dongle.
Yeah. So we've run into that a few times, and we've even been ready for a Pasco event, and when Macs were kind of first on the scene here, and one of our attendees said, "Hey, I live right down the street. Let me go get mine." It was like, yay, So you just never know. But
Yes.
But I see that you have that, your patience, and you're just like, let's just get this done. So we love that about you.
Good. Thank you.
So, and since you've been here, you've found different routes to walk at,
I have.
which is kind of fun.
Been picking out the most beautiful houses. Although I've also been chastised by my husband and told that I haven't yet seen most of the beautiful houses because I haven't really been over to like the ocean and the ocean viewpoints. And I was like, well, there's ocean in town.
Yeah, they're also different.
Yes.
And there's the historic houses are so different than, sometimes what you'll see on the ocean, a little bit more modern or just a different style.
Right.
So that's what I like about this town too, is you can go down this street and see a captain's house, and the next street you might see just a nice, well-built, something that's been here forever.
Right.
Sort of house. So, and with the plaques on them, and it tells you, and that's
which is really helpful.
Yeah. So, so in the next 6 months, we're going to do a few things. We're going to maybe start teaching some classes, computer classes. Are there certain things that you would like to work on while you're here?
Is it too cheeky to say I'd really like to help build the endowment?
We would like that.
Who wouldn't like that? Especially, I think something good that came out of the pandemic is that people really value, there's so many community opportunities in this space, and there's so much community that comes into this space, both large and small. And I think that people realize after being stuck in their homes that a meeting space it's a valuable, it's the pulse of a community, and it's really important.
Yeah. So you're going to help us with some fundraising, and
I hope so,
and some education on where things come from.
Yes.
So I think, and I do think that it's really for the in perpetuity kind of process, to make sure that does happen. Like what kind of ideas would you have? Do you have any that might just say, let's roll with this?
None that I'm going to announce
Okay.
on camera.
Okay.
None that I'm going to say on YouTube. No,
Good.
I'm very excited to meet with the fundraising committee.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see and hear what sort of ideas they have. And I definitely get the impression from everyone that I've met that's come in, particularly the people that come in with the little technology problem and leave with a smile on their face, that there's a huge amount of value. And there's value that you can't necessarily put a dollar amount on. And I think that, yeah, it's a great space, it's a great community, and that's really important.
So when you were coming here, when you were younger, you were just, it was at Kennebunk Beach, you knew people that way, right?
Kennebunkport, yes. You said on Beach Street.
Beach Street, yes. Beach Avenue.
Yes, Beach Avenue.
Yeah. So how did you meet? Did you go to school with Melissa?
I did.
Is that?
I did. I went to school with Melissa at Maslonsky, and then she ended up transferring. And although she transferred, we still stayed really good friends.
Yeah.
And I ended up coming down here with her parents and staying at her grandparents' house at the time.
Yep.
Actually, it was kind of cool. So at the time, MTV was new. I know I'm dating myself, but that's okay.
That's all right.
And so they had it, they had MTV. So to get to come down, and I mean, I was a teenage girl. Let's be honest. I wasn't here at the library. I was at the beach trying to meet boys, or I was watching MTV. But I did get a great feel for the town, and always enjoyed coming back down to it. I brought my children here a few years ago, and we went down to the beach, and we went to the Best of Everything, and we went to Federal Jacks.
Yeah.
So that was a great family day.
And we're talking about Melissa, and Melissa's mom, Jean, worked here for a time, and she was somebody that right from the get-go, so she started volunteering here, and I think her dad might have been on our library board at one time.
Oh, wow, nice.
And so when she and her husband John moved here, she was somebody that I just connected with like immediately. And so we went to Red Sox games, and we went to Portland Stage, and we had lots of fun. And I was so bummed when she decided to move, but I understood why.
Right.
Because moving to where your kids are is really important. And our texts haven't been back and forth as much as they used to, but she's somebody that I always think of, and they're just such a lovely family. So I'm glad that you also experienced that same family.
Yes. Well, and it was the first time that I went to a job interview and I had a reference for my future boss, as opposed to bringing a reference for myself. I brought a referral for you, and I was like, I was told you would be the best person that I could work for pretty much on the planet. So I really appreciate that going into it.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. So other things that we're going to try to do, besides teaching some classes, just sort of working on different projects here in the next year. Getting out a little bit more back out into the community, because we haven't been able to in the last couple of years.
Right.
So it's exciting that you're going to be part of that.
I am excited for that.
So we've just started to sit down and plan a few things out, but hopefully there'll be more things coming, and collaborations with some of the other organizations. And something that you need manpower to do that. So anyway, so we're very excited that you're.
Thank you. I am very excited
here,
as well.
And your enthusiasm and
thank you,
and just love of libraries in general. I think we can see that.
Well, and one of the things that I'd really like to see grow over my time here is that I'd really like to get, as much as you said, you have the people that come in and come in all the time, and that's phenomenal. Yeah. I'd love to get some of those people that maybe haven't come in for whatever reason, and really have something or some programming or some offerings that makes them want to come in. Yeah. It's great to have that buy-in and that value with as many people as possible. Yeah,
that's right. And it is a great place that speaks to so many different people, but there's still that whole network of people that we just haven't, we haven't touched yet. Yes. And so to find different ways to do that, will be really great.
Yeah.
So, So when you were out in California, did you get to travel while you were out there, up and down the coast, or?
A little bit. Some to
Yeah.
San Francisco, some to Arizona, some to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Because it's a much shorter flight than flying from Maine.
Yes.
And yeah, really, really beautiful out there. Nevada, got to go to Las Vegas a few times. That's kind of fun because again, it's really Las Vegas from out there is a road trip.
Right, right.
Of course, it's California, so most of commuting would be considered traveling because you may be gone for hours just to go a couple miles. So you really get to explore. I made it down to Mexico a couple of times, so that was fun.
Yeah.
To get to be there and very diverse.
Yeah. Yeah.
California has changed a lot since I left. Some of their choices have changed. But on the upside, I'm not the only person from there that has now moved to Maine because a lot of people that I talked to lately came from the West Coast and have bought places and settled in here.
Yeah. Did you ever experience earthquake or anything like that when you were out there?
I did experience an earthquake. It's almost like you missed it. It kind of felt like someone picked up my chair and moved me over a little bit and set me back down. And then it was over and it was like, oh, is that what you guys have been so freaked out about? But that obviously that wasn't a bad one. That's not the same as like a devastating one, which also happened. I was very lucky. And I'm sure my parents were very relieved that nothing like that happened while I was out there.
I bet, yeah. Yeah, it is scary. When you see the news, it is scary that, sometimes in some of those places, it just automatic,
I was always very surprised when a hunter or a hiker, someone would start a forest fire by setting off a flare because they were lost. And I was always like, it's Southern California, walk a little bit, you're going to find a strip mall.
Yeah.
Like you're really by Maine standards you're really not that lost, but it is. It can be. There are definitely huge tracts of land out there, and loved my time out there. Very beautiful area.
Yeah. Now your daughter is an author. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
I would love to. So I read her when she was in preschool. I read her a book called Not a Box. And so she went downstairs and she wrote a book called Not a Ball, which was very, very original, I'm sure. And so she drew the whole thing herself and wrote everything herself and then came upstairs and was like, okay, well, I need you to take me to Staples because I need to get the clear sheets, the protector sheets, and I need to get a 3-ring binder to put this in. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, no, like right now. We are going to, so she was self-published at a very young age. And since then, I encouraged her to apply for She says forced, I say encouraged, tomato, tomato. The Young Emerging Authors Program at the Telling Room. And she did get into that. She had done
and that's in Portland, right?
Yes, in Portland. She had done Novel in November for several years running where you, as a writer, you set a goal word count for yourself for the month of November. And then you try to hit it. And if you hit your goal, they send you a certificate. And she had done that and she had published, when she was maybe 3rd grade, she had published one called Elizabeth Perry, Human Fairy. And she had, using the NaNoWriMo. And then she had published another one called Unsinkable, which was a historical fiction about some children that were friends around the time of the Titanic.
Okay.
And of course, they think one of their friends is on the Titanic, and then you have the moment at the end where you realize that he missed the boat or he didn't have the ticket and he wasn't on it, and so very dramatic. And then she did the Young Emerging Authors Program at the Telling Room, and she published the book of The Unraveling, which is a young adult novel, which is available on barnesandnoble.com and at Print a Bookstore, and of course through the Telling Room. And then she also wrote a play. Greeley has a new performing arts center, and she wrote a play called Spy Fry, which is a crime. Well, it's the spy or the good guys. The good guys have their headquarters front is a fast food restaurant.
Okay.
And so then Meg, maniacal evil genius, is trying to find out what the cover is for the good guys' headquarters. And so the way to get into the headquarters is the most ridiculous burger order on the planet. Of like, you know, I want my burger, you know, twice well done and with avocado and raspberry jam and a quail egg. Yeah. And so there's no chance that you're ever going to place the order and get into the headquarters accidentally. But of course, someone does place the order accidentally. And so he gets swept up into this world of being a spy, and he turns out to be like this amazing spy. And that one was actually published by a playhouse, by a publishing company in England called Silver Birchington Plays.
Wow.
So she has a published play right now, and she has a published young adult novel right now. And then she also has been in several poetry contests and won for those. And so no surprise, she wants to go to school for creative writing.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yes.
That is so... so we don't have our young adult book yet,
Not
do
yet.
we? Okay, well, that's something we got to fix. So
we should definitely do a Meet the Author.
Oh, I think that would
probably
be really
in line
fun.
with the summer reading programs, so that she can meet a lot of the young aspiring writers. And
that is so great. I mean,
young
what
readers.
a mind.
Yes, she's quite creative.
So does she must read a lot, or
she does?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're both of them are very voracious readers, and she recently has been writing some short stories and dabbling in that. And then, of course, between her high school curriculum and she's been taking some online college courses. So there's a fair amount of academic writing that happens in her day to day.
You and your husband read a lot?
Yes.
I mean, that modeling, I think, sometimes is really important. But I do see the whole family unit. You know, you can tell that there's both parents are.
Yes. We've done the occasional family book club because we're nerds.
Yeah.
But we're nerds
Nothing
together.
nerdy about that. I think that's awesome.
It is. It's really fun. It was interesting. Which one did we read? It's slipping my mind right now. But we read one, and it was a young adult one, and then you're reading it as the parents, and the kids are reading it, and then you
Very
get to
different.
Right, and you get to some of those kind of questionable scenes where you're like, oh, I really don't want to talk about this with my child right now, but yeah. Oh, Divergent.
Okay.
We read Divergent as a family.
Yeah.
And it's pretty G-rated for the most part.
Yeah,
but
yeah. We used to have a family story time, a family reading group here, and it was really interesting to see. Because you have, you're older, you have that, the worldly experience. But sometimes when you're sitting and you're listening to a younger person describe something or a scene, it's like, I didn't see that. So it's really kind of fun to see them also, talking about things at a whole different level. So,
yes.
Even more so than I would find something. So
yes. And to that end, my son wants to go into artificial intelligence. And so I was like, I Googled, what do you need for classes if you? He was getting ready to pick his high school curriculum, his classes, and I was like, well, no pressure, but what do you want to be when you grow up? Because in this day and age, you really need to start taking those classes then, because that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And he said he wanted to go into artificial intelligence, so I Googled what you need. And I was like, okay, well, you're strong in science and you're strong in math, and you need ethics. And you're almost got your Eagle Scout, so that's pretty ethical.
Yeah.
And so then I went to Greeley's website to see, there's got to be an ethics club. And there wasn't. I was like, okay, there's got to be an ethics class. And there wasn't.
Oh, boy.
And so I went back and I told him, and he's like, that's okay, I'll start one. And so September of his freshman year at Greeley, he started the Greeley Ethics Club.
Oh, my.
And again, because of COVID, he has a really cool model for the program, which is they meet once a month in person if you can.
Yeah.
But there is a Google Classroom online component so that if you're in another sport or you're in another club, but you want to be able to participate, he pre-posts the question of what they're going to be discussing. And if you want your view shared, then you respond to that. So I just thought it was kind of cool to preemptively come up with an online and in-person model for this.
That is so great.
But again, that's kind of how their minds work now because they're prepared to have the red pulled out at any moment.
That's
so
true.
you might as well get ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's been a really cool experience for him.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool to see.
Kennebunk has is it Anorak? There's a club here that I think is sort of like what you're describing, the high school students, and I think they do international component and different things, and maybe
nice.
ethics is part of that, but I could be totally wrong.
Right.
We'll have to do some research, but that's great that he was able to just. I'll do that. I'll take that on.
Yes.
Just like you do. Wonder where he gets it.
I don't know where he gets it. Yeah. No, he had to find an advisor.
Yeah.
And the format for that school district is any new clubs have to be a student idea, and you have to get the student group together, and then you have to find an advisor that's willing to take it on for that year for free. Yep. And then once you can show that the club is viable and it's up and running, then there can be some stipend and stuff to help the advisor, which is awesome. I mean, it's amazing that they put that together for their students.
Yeah.
So this is the proud second year of Ethics Club, and there's free snacks. And I was like, well, is that ethical to bribe them with free food to come to your club?
That's an aside. So we usually finish our interview with some rapid fire, one word answer kinds of questions. Okay.
All right.
But
I'm ready.
Doesn't have to be one word.
Okay.
It can be. So we want to know, what is your favorite ice cream? Are you an ice cream eater?
Yes.
What is your
It's not one word, but New York Super Fudge Chunk by Ben & Jerry's is my favorite.
All right. Excellent. Do you have a favorite cocktail?
My favorite cocktail is probably a Midori Sour.
Okay.
And ironically, not many people know how to make it. And they'll be like, what is it? And I'm like, well, it's Midori. And it's sour. So.
And it's green. Favorite movie?
The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. Love that movie. Favorite book? Do you have a favorite book?
Favorite book? Probably The Goldfinch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, either that one or I Am Pilgrim.
Okay.
I Am Pilgrim is really still waiting for anything else. Terry Hayes, anytime you want to come through, just saying.
And also your daughter's book.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. You're right. I take back all my answers. Not a Ball is by far my favorite book ever.
Coolest place you've ever been?
Coolest place I've ever been. I love the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco because the way that you can come up to it, you can sort of turn a corner and then all of a sudden it's there, and it's very magical looking because you don't expect it in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And so that's probably one of my favorite places.
Okay. Favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant? I love the Garrison in Yarmouth.
Okay.
Just love the Garrison in Yarmouth.
What kind of food?
It's fusion. And it's a really cool story because they had a catering company, and then they started the Garrison, and then COVID hit. Yeah. And so then they started a fast food burger place called Thoroughfare in order to keep Garrison afloat.
Oh, okay.
And I've never seen that business model of this one's going under, so let's start another to support it. And I was like, that's really clever.
Yeah.
And
Mike, have you ever been there?
Great food, great
Garrison?
People, really delicious.
Okay.
Great
Where is
location.
it located?
It's on Bridge Street in Yarmouth.
Okay.
It's in a really cool old mill-style building on the water, and very cool.
Oh, that sounds like a
really
nice,
delicious.
Nice
really
spot.
very gourmet, which I like.
Okay. And so where you live, your area, is there anything that you would recommend people to explore up your way?
To explore, if you're ever up my way, I would definitely say to attend the Clam Festival.
Okay.
Because it's a phenomenal time, and it's the whole town, and a lot of nonprofits in town make their money during that weekend, and so it's a great cause, and it's a great time, and it's really fun.
And that's back up and running.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And of course it kicks off with a great parade, and yes.
Yeah, I think I've been stuck in that parade.
Oh, probably going around it.
Yes. But it's a really unique festival. It's been in the running for a really long time, right?
Yes.
So, I think we went with some friends one time, but I didn't realize, so we're going to their house to go watch the parade.
Right.
But then I got stuck anyway.
Yes. Which is a whole thing.
Which is
people that live there along the parade route, they do.
Yeah.
They have parties to just,
yeah. Well, that's good advice. So, thank you again for being with us tonight. and also for joining our team. And so we're so excited to really work on some fun projects with you.
Yes.
So if you get a chance, come down, visit with Jennifer, introduce yourself, and bring her a computer question.
An easy one that I can send you away with a smile.
So thank you all for joining us again for another episode of What's Your Story, and we'll see you back here next time.